Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage Late
Sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on sports.
Welcome to hour number 3, live right here on this first day of a new week. It is a Monday on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. One final hour here on this Monday with plenty of baseball to break down. There will be plenty of MLB Monday plays, courtesy of a young Donnie Rightside for you here in this third and final hour, including the best bets for the Monday card around MLB. Prop perspectives with Tom Vecchio as well, not only for Major League Baseball, but maybe an early forecast of the Stanley Cup final between the Oilers and the Panthers that begins on Saturday. And then we'll talk a little NCAA tournament action on both the baseball field and the softball diamond. Regional round Monday. 4 Game 7s. Winner take all into the Super Regional scheduled for this Monday in the NCAA baseball tournament. And 2 spots potentially at stake in the WCWS Women's College World Series Finals in Oklahoma City as well. That brings a smile to my face, Donnie.
Big hour number 3, and maybe we'll squeeze in a little bit more talk there on Justin Jefferson breaking the bank. And also, look, the reason I bring up Justin Jefferson, doesn't play for my favorite football team, but I do respect the craft. From one wide receiver to another, congratulations on the payday, something that, I never was able to partake in there in football. But there it is. I mean, resetting the market. So we got what? Early June. By the time we get to training, what are we looking at? Roughly 6 weeks. Teams will be reporting to training camp probably to get ready there for that Hall of Fame Classic. So, and away we go, man. It's not that far off, which is crazy.
No, the offseason might seem a little bit quiet right now, but we do have big contract extension news. We are not all that far away from training camp and mandatory mini camps around the National Football League the next week or two as well. We've already seen OTAs, organized team activities, often referred to as optional team activities. Mandatory mini camps, slightly different, but we are going to see some big contract figures over the next few weeks, not just at the wide receiver position. We have our first $35 million man in Justin Jefferson. Might we see our first $60 million man at the quarterback spot? Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, Tua Tagovailoa, Dak Prescott. That news will be coming out over the next few weeks. But there's a lot of baseball to break down. Now, unofficially in these summer months, following Memorial Day weekend, now into the month of June. What a weekend it was for the New York Yankees up by the Bay in San Francisco. Juan Soto's finale yesterday. 2 home runs, including a 2-run shot that was the game winner in the top of the 9th as the Yankees rallied by the Giants to complete the sweep, where for most of the weekend in San Francisco, it was the dream of Arson Judge, but really Aaron Judge and what he is doing still in pinstripes. What's the best bet to win the American League MVP award? It's what we asked you in the Fade the Public poll. At SportsGrid on Twitter, who is the best bet to win the AL MVP award? Is it Aaron Judge, now the slight favorite? Juan Soto, only 10 cents back behind his teammate, Gunnar Henderson of the Baltimore Orioles, the young up-and-coming superstar for the O's? Or is it somebody else around the American League, despite no longer being the favorite, where he was just a few days ago, DRS? Juan Soto is the favorite, at least for the betting public, in our Fade the Public poll at plus 210, nearly 41% of the vote to win the AL MVP award.
I guess from a Yankees perspective, from their front office, they're probably hoping it's Aaron Judge, so then you don't have to get to the negotiations on the table and say, yeah, you're going to pay my MVP X amount of dollars here because he's a free agent. Now, having said that, we're neck and neck, plus 200, plus 210 price. For me, I actually voted for Aaron Judge here because I do believe the almighty home run is always king. But if you take a look at the standings right now, who leads Major League Baseball in home runs? It's Aaron Judge with 21, but not too far behind is Juan Soto, and Yankee Stadium fits him absolutely perfectly on that short porch in right field to actually get maybe an extra 2 to 3 home runs per season. But having said that, also these guys are working off of each other, and it's fantastic to watch it play out. The one thing you can always look at Juan Soto is he's got such a keen eye for the strike zone, which means he's willing to take the walk. But if you're a Major League Baseball pitcher, you might say, okay, and again, maybe a little bit of a disrespect to, let's just say, a Jurickson Profar or a Cronenworth for San Diego. It's like, okay, I'm protecting the guy behind me. Yeah, we could pitch around him a little bit because let's just see what Profar can do and maybe Cronenworth can do. That's not the case here in New York. If you pitch around Juan Soto to put him on base for Aaron Judge, who's the leader in Major League Baseball right now for home runs, it works so perfectly in both of those guys having unbelievably talented seasons. We'll see who wins it in the end, but from a statistical standpoint, I do think Aaron Judge is going to win the home run race. But then again, you could say Juan Soto on base percentage, Juan Soto walks, Juan Soto batting average, Juan Soto RBI. I mean, they're all going to be up there high as well. I just voted for Aaron Judge just because I can legitimately see a 50 home run season out of Aaron Judge, which again, if he's batting anywhere around 290, that would be insanity for how many times he's going to be on base with RBI chances, and certainly, as I talked about, the home runs.
21 home runs this year, 47 RBIs. The 21 long balls leads all of MLB in front of both Kyle Tucker and Gunnar Henderson, who we'll discuss in just a moment. 47 RBIs, top 5 in all the bigs as well. But Juan Soto batting .322, tied for the 3rd best average in Major League Baseball, alongside Shohei Ohtani with 53 ribbies for Juan Soto, tied for the 2nd most in MLB. It is hard to really argue against either candidacy for the American League MVP award. And you are the New York Yankees. You are the biggest brand in Major League Baseball. You have the best record in MLB with the most wins in MLB at this moment. All of that from a narrative perspective for those pesky baseball writers certainly does stack up. Aaron Judge did win the award 2 years ago, of course, when he set the American League record with 62 home runs. Juan Soto in his debut year up in the Bronx. But I do remember a certain co-host of mine on the early line saying maybe they would split the vote and it would separate the candidacy for both Soto and Judge, allowing somebody else not in New York to take the award. Do you still feel that might be a possibility?
Sure. I mean, why not? Now, you want to separate the two players from the team itself for the individuality of an MVP award, but there are some things like who's going to get all of the credit here for the New York Yankees winning it. If both of these guys have great seasons, you can see some of those votes being individualized and maybe saying, okay, I'm going to vote for Judge. Next beat writer is going to vote for Juan Soto. And then if Gunnar Henderson, let's just say at a plus 550 price here for the Baltimore Orioles, they steam ahead and overtake the Yankees as maybe the best record in baseball or in the AL East. Where does that leave him at this point? So it's tough that they're on the same team, because I do believe a little bit of sometimes you're going to vote for one or the other and leave the one out and say, you know what? If Juan Soto was never a part of the New York Yankees and Aaron Judge is having the same season, what would that price point look like here? But you can't do that, obviously, and it's a fun talking point. But it is interesting to see two players, one team, so far and away the favorites here in the MVP race.
For my money, I think it will be one of the two players that plays for the Yanks. It's how I feel in the National League as well. Mookie Betts or Shohei Ohtani, I think, is going to win that award. I will say, though, unlike the NL, where there are only 3 guys to win the NL MVP award with a 3-digit price that includes both Betts, Shohei Ohtani, who's more than $3 behind his LA teammate, and Bryce Harper around a 7-1 price. There are 5 guys at a 9-1 number in the American League MVP odds or less. That includes Gunnar Henderson and Kyle Tucker. And who was that 5th name? Let me track it down for you. Bobby Witt Jr. as well at plus 850. Slightly more competitive perhaps than in the AL MVP race.
Yeah, no, it'll be fun to watch it throughout the summer, but you're right. Sometimes you have to be that MVP candidate for a couple years before you can actually win it, but it's fun. Bobby Witt Jr. is in the MVP discussion. And by the way, if you look at box scores on a day-to-day basis for the Royals, we know we love the pass squatch out there, but every time a run pops up, it's like, I bet you it was Bobby Witt driving that in, and it seems like it has been. He's been tremendous this year.
Tremendous. Every cent worth $281 million, which was his big contract that he signed this past offseason with Kansas City. Collegiate Capsule, NCAA tournament action next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage Late
sort
Night.
of has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Rocking and rolling in hour number 3 of the early line on a Monday morning live. It's Donnie right side. It's Ben Stevens bringing you all the topics you need to be in the know, which includes the College Baseball World Series is on deck for us here. Now, Ben, let me bring into this conversation to explain to the people how the process works. Because if you just think they show up in the World Series because they're a top 5 team, that's not the way it is. Explain to the people the process of how you have to go again qualifying for the College World Series.
Listen, much like we see in the men's or women's NCAA basketball tournament, not a field of 68, but the field of 64, which starts, as it did this past weekend, with the regional round. There are the top 16 national seeds that host the regional at their home ballpark, where within each regional, teams are seeded 1 through 4. Of course, the 1 seed is the team that is one of the top in the 16 nationally that is hosting the regional. And then 2 through 4, either at-large bids that were on the bubble or those lesser conference champions that make things up. For instance, we saw some chaos already. Arkansas, the number 5 national seed in Fayetteville, bounced. They're not even going to get to the super regional. Arizona, who was hosting in Tucson, eliminated before even the regional final. But it is double elimination in each regional, meaning if you want to knock off a team, you might have to do so twice. There are some teams that can sweep a regional and advance already to the super regional round, which is this upcoming weekend. That's just a best of 3 series at the super regional site. The higher national seed gets to host that. DRS, 5 spots remain in the super regional round, and we have 4 game 7s today. Virtually what that means, it's winner take all. Both teams have a single loss, and both teams are 1 win away from a berth in the super regional. I will make a small caveat. UC Irvine and Oregon State up in the Corvallis regional, where the Beavers are hosting. The Anteaters right now have to finish their game that could force a winner-take-all game 7. The Beavs up 6-4 at the moment in the bottom of the 4th. The Anteaters, the home team, remaining there. UC Irvine would have to come back and win that game to force a winner-take-all game 7 against Oregon State later today.
I'll tell you what, it's always interesting, too, because we have a couple interesting games. Once you get to the College Baseball World Series, I believe the Major League Baseball draft also takes place around that time. So guys are in the World Series and getting drafted at the same time, which is absolutely incredible. Let's take a look at the College World Series odds if these teams do land in Omaha, and who are the chances are the favorites. That's obviously Tennessee at a plus 300 price, Texas A&M plus 350, Kentucky plus 850, Clemson 13-1, and so on here. So it looks like we do have some parity here with 2 big guns at the top of that list, Tennessee and Texas A&M here, Ben.
So those are 2 of the teams that so far have reached the super regional round, 16 spots in the super regional. Again, it is a best of 3 series between just 2 teams to figure out who will earn one of those spots in the Omaha 8. That is for the Men's College World Series, which starts in 2 weeks down the line. Tennessee is the top overall national seed at 3-1. A&M outlasted Texas on Saturday night, their rivals, and then Louisiana yesterday as the Aggies swept the College Station Regional to get into the Super Regional round. Kentucky did the same in Lexington. A&M will take on Oregon, who is not hosting in Eugene and yet swept the regional round in Santa Barbara over UCSB. The Gauchos were the regional hosts and thus the national seed in that list. DRS elsewhere, as things stand, entering the 4 game 7s that we have today. Again, potentially a 5th if UC Irvine can come back and knock off Oregon State. Some really interesting national seeds. ECU lost its opener in its own Greenville Regional. They take on Evansville today. They outlasted Evansville and the Aces big time yesterday, a hefty favorite. Oklahoma State hosting the Stillwater Regional. They get Florida. Your guy, Jack Caglione, one of the best home run hitters in Major League Baseball, one of 2 players in NCAA Division I baseball history to hit back-to-back 30 home run seasons of what she has done once again. And the game of the day, of course, is in Chapel Hill. It's North Carolina and LSU, 2 of the biggest brands in this sport. UNC, the national seed, hosting, but LSU, the reigning national champs. What a game that is going to be. It's a virtual pick'em. The Heels right now a minus 120 favorite. LSU, the home team, and yet not the national seed, minus 106. That is going to be a battle down there on the Tar Heel State today.
The men on the horizon here trying to get to the World Series. The women, yeah, they're already there. And also, you take a look at some of those top seeds. Number 1, number 2, number 4, and number 8. Oklahoma versus Texas. You also, Oklahoma versus Florida. Stanford versus Texas here. Now, the one team that does stand out is Texas is the number 1 team. But anytime we think about women's softball, particularly the past couple of years, then it's always been Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's always been Oklahoma. And that's where the Sooners are right now. Noon Eastern, first pitch in Oklahoma City at the Women's College World Series. The Sooners, 1 win away, and they're nearly a $3 moneyline favorite at this moment, minus 280 in a matchup against Florida from getting back to the WCWS final. On the other side of the bracket, we have a game between Texas and Stanford scheduled for 7 p.m. Eastern. If the Longhorns win, they advance to the WCWS final to take on Oklahoma. What a matchup that would be, DRS, between the Sooners and the Longhorns, conference foes and rivals now, their final time in the Big 12 before they enter the SEC. I bet Oklahoma and advised all of you, if you were watching and listening on Friday, to do the same when the Sooners were minus 190 to win their second consecutive national championship. And now the Sooners, 1 win away from getting to the best of 3 finals, are minus 250. OU is a wagon, and it does not look like it is stopping any time. Florida would have to knock off Oklahoma twice, not only win that first game scheduled for noon Eastern, DRS, but have to win the second one as well. A tall task against OU.
By the way, quick question here. In the men's College World Series, in those odds, who is your team that you believe that's going to win it all?
All right, so I think right now there is some value on a West Virginia team at 42-1. The Mountaineers into the regional, but they await the winner of North Carolina and LSU. WVU, not a national seed, so they would play that game more than likely in North Carolina if the Tar Heels are the team. More on the early line next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this Monday on the early line on SportsGrid as we get you set for a new week in Major League Baseball. A big one today in Philadelphia. Yesterday, the Phils on Sunday Night Baseball lost in extras to the St. Louis Cardinals, but the Phillies still winning the series 2-1 over St. Louis. The return, as Donnie likes to say, of Rhys Hoskins for the Brew Crew in the city of brotherly love. Rhys Hoskins and his Milwaukee team have now won 5 straight, but today they go up against a force in Zach Wheeler. And the Phils are greater than a $2 favorite, minus 210 on that money line, seemingly going to end that 5-game win streak for the Brew Crew.
Yeah, it seems so, and that's what you want, your ace on the mound when you're trying to come off a game that you probably thought you should have won last night. And the Phillies, a little bit of struggles in extra innings, not being able to get that runner, scoring from second base. So they lost last night, but again, still won the series. That's always what you're trying to do. And also will be emotional tonight because Rhys Hoskins never wanted to leave Philadelphia, but there really wasn't a spot for him anymore. The reason why Bryce Harper went from right field to first base, they figure it's going to prolong his career, less wear and tear than playing in the outfield. And then there you have it. That was Rhys Hoskins' position, who, quite frankly, it wasn't as if Rhys Hoskins was an unbelievable first baseman, a very talented hitter, but a terrible fielder here. So you can't pay everybody, and he had to move on, and he went to Milwaukee. So there's that. Now, coming back to the city, we'll see what he does tonight. But again, it's Zach Wheeler we're talking about. The focus is going to be Bryce Wilson here, the right-handed pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers, and how he can't get out left-handed batters. On the season, 88 batters he's faced on the left-hand side, a 260 ISO, a 409 weighted on base percentage. If we just take a look at the last 53 batters over the past 30 days, it's still a 196 ISO and a 427 weighted on base percentage, which means in the middle of that lineup, you got Bryce Harper, 67 at-bats over the past 30 days against right-handed pitching, a 317 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 429. If you're looking for an RBI prop, that's the guy in the middle of your lineup. And if you think the Phillies win, Bryce Harper's probably going to play a big deal in that, so take him to get an RBI tonight. But I do think the Phillies win. They'll be backed up by Zach Wheeler. They're the better team, and we'll see if it plays out that way tonight at Citizens Bank Ballpark.
With the Yanks having the day off, a win for Philadelphia would match New York with 42, the most in the bigs, and would tie New York with the same exact record, 42-19. Elsewhere, DRS, only 7 other games on this Monday MLB slate. Not the largest, but we go to a divisional duel out in the desert between the Diamondbacks and the Giants. Now, neither team has been great this year. In fact, only 2 teams in the NL West are above 500. The Dodgers and then the Padres are 2 games above that mark. San Francisco now 2 games below 500. They've lost 4 in a row. Arizona, the reigning National League pennant winners, 5 games below 500 as well. The D-backs a home favorite today in downtown Phoenix at minus 136. What do you like in the opener of this divisional duel this week out in Arizona?
What are we actually going to trust? The reason I bring that up is Ryan Nelson, supposed to be the starter tonight, the right-handed pitcher for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He hasn't been very good. Let's just take a look at a 30-day snapshot. 116 batters that he's faced, a total, if we combine both lefty and righty batters, a 222 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of 427. Even if we break this down, Ben, 63 batters he's faced from the left-hand side, 226 and a 353 weighted on-base percentage. Flip it over to right-handed batters as a right-handed pitcher, 217 ISO, a 515 weighted on-base percentage. Here's the issue, though. Only 2 guys in the lineup today over 170 as an ISO power number against right-handed pitching over the past month. That's Matt Chapman and that's Mike Yastrzemski. But if we flip it over to the other side and say, how does Spencer Howard match up? He's not a great Major League Baseball pitcher, and quite frankly, has only limited opportunities this season. So if we take a look at Corbin Carroll, Jock Peterson, Christian Walker, Jake McCarthy, some of those left-handed batters, they should be able to do some damage tonight as they go up against Spencer Howard. So if we're looking at a side perspective, probably a slight lean here towards San Francisco, but why do that? Just take the total over 9 runs. I think we get runs tonight.
Yeah, that's where the total stands right now at 9. 8.5 the number in Anaheim between the Angels and the Padres. San Diego, again, 2 games above 500 and a road favorite in this Southern California clash between the Halos and the Padres. Minus 138 on the money line. DRS, the Angels have dropped 5 in a row. Does that skid reach 6 tonight?
It could. Tyler Anderson, one of those guys that actually has an above-average number if you're just taking a look at the non-analytical numbers. But analytical numbers each and every week. Doesn't strike out a lot of guys, walks too many guys, ends up giving up fly balls. You should be able to get some damage. But having said that, the Padres really haven't hit left-handed pitching all that well. So that's sort of one of those numbers you look at and say, I wish it would have been better. Switch over to Matt Waldron, who's going to be on the mound tonight for the Padres. He can't get left-handed batters out. You have slightly a few left-handed batters, Moniak, Calhoun, and Luis Guillorme in the lineup tonight. So Two advantages I would like to take advantage of. I don't know if I can tonight here. We should get runs, but these lineups stink.
The Halos have also dropped 9 of their last 11, including this 5-game skid. Prop perspective on a Monday, up next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The prop perspective on this Monday to start off a new week with FanDuel's Tom Vecchio. Live right here on the early line on SportsGrid. He is the man in the middle. We recap what we saw over the weekend in the Stanley Cup postseason. We'll keep it at that, Tom, and then we will also forecast what we are going to see for the Stanley Cup final that starts in 5 days from now on a Saturday between the Panthers and the Oilers. First, Vecchio, thank you for being here on this Monday on the early line. I know it could not have been the easiest of weekends for you and your hockey fandom and your tickets.
Yeah, thanks for having me. The Rangers lost, my Star Stanley Cup future lost, but played a little bit of golf, got a little bit too much sun. Yanks are still in first place. I got to be ready to go on a Monday.
Listen, new week, new money. It's what Donnie says all the time. That's a beautiful, positive perspective to have here for the prop perspective on this Monday. But let's look back on the end of the Western Conference Finals between the Stars and the Oilers. Despite being outshot by Dallas 35-10, Edmonton takes game number 6 and wins the WCF 4-2. It was started by a spectacular goal from the best player in the National Hockey League, Connor McDavid. How did Edmonton win the final 3 games of this series to advance back to the Cup final for the first time in 18 years?
A lot of credit has to go to Coach Knobloch, their head coach, making a lot of adjustments, players in and out of the lineup that we saw as the series went on. And, they kind of kept the Stars in check each and every way they possibly could. I've talked about the Stars, how deep they were. They limited them at every chance, not in the shots of the most recent game as we saw, but the Stars are also playing with desperation. But they made the proper adjustments. And, I've talked about Stuart Skinner before, the goalie for the Oilers. As long as the defense in front of him limits their mistakes, he will be in a good spot. So when the defense isn't out of position, isn't overextending, all these sorts of things, Skinner can be a solid goalie. Whether or not that continues versus a very strong offense in Florida is yet to be seen. And that's something that's going to be one of the major talking points for the Stanley Cup Finals.
Taking advantage of game number 6 in your own building certainly worked out last night for the Edmonton Oilers. And also on a Saturday night in South Florida, the Panthers didn't want to go to game 7 in the world's most famous arena. They handled their business by winning 2-1 over the Rangers in an absolutely exciting series, as you see that graphic on the screen. Game number 1 was 3-0, but I always bring up the point. That was a 1-0 game with about maybe 2 minutes to go before an own goal by the Rangers and an empty netter. That series was fantastic all the way through. And if you were a fan of either team here, Tom, that was incredible ride all throughout, and the Panthers got it done.
It was, and I also think it speaks to the strength of the Panthers where, first game, they do what they do, a couple overtime games, anything can happen, they lose, but their strength and how they continue to develop throughout the series in finding the proper matchups and continuing to get their offense rolling, which we saw at times just to such an extreme level where not only do they limit the Rangers on defense, but they are constantly pouring on the pressure. We saw the graphics all series long. The number of shot attempts, always favoring the Panthers. O-zone time, high danger chances. Everything was in favor of the Panthers, and ultimately just speaks to their strength and what they've done over the past few seasons. So full credit to them. They deserve to be here. They were there last year. I'm expecting them to come to hoist Lord Stanley Cup when it's all said and done.
And Florida is the favorite right now at minus 128 on that series outright price. You expect the Panthers to hoist the cup when all is said and done after this cup final. But how do these two teams, Tom, match up in your opinion?
Florida's still the deeper team. They are, much better on offense. I think their defense is stronger. Bobrovsky is stronger. I think every single spot you could say that they're stronger. The power play is even, I would say, slightly sides with the Oilers just because the top end talent that they have. When it comes to the bottom 6 for the Oilers, that is going to be the difference maker. How do those lines perform against very strong bottom 6 lines for the Panthers? Because ultimately, McDavid can't be out there for 30 minutes a night. And when the Panthers roll 4 lines deep, which they did in the final few games of the Rangers series, they're just better at every step of the way. So how does that perform? Also, what happens on the penalty kill for the Panthers? Because if they take too many penalties, putting the Oilers in advantageous spots will always put them at a detriment. Not a surprise when McDavid and Draisaitl on the other side. So the minutia of the game, I think, is really going to determine it. The penalty, the power play, those sorts of things.
If we're taking a look at this series as a whole, number one, do we think this series is going a long way? And also, more importantly, it's always nice to get out to that 1-0 series lead. Florida is going to have home ice advantage at a minus 140 price in game number 1 here at the FanDuel Sportsbook. How are we looking for game number 1? And more importantly, how does this series play out?
Well, game 1, 5.5 over-under. What I expect from the first few games is 1 or 2 of the first 3 games is going to have a lot of goals. It's going to be 5-2, maybe 5-3. After that, every other game is about the under. Right? We saw it in the series versus the Rangers, a 5-4 game. We saw it versus the Oilers, with the Oilers versus the Stars, 5-3, 5-2, those sorts of things. As soon as that over game hits, it's all about the unders the rest of the way. That's the way I'll be approaching it. I expect them to split the first 2 games. So whichever team wins the first game, I'll simply be on the money line for the other team. I don't expect 2-0 anyway. I expect 6 games, and I expect Florida to win 4-2. So that's where I'm looking to start. We can talk about the Conn Smythe as well if we have a little bit of time here.
Right. We'll talk about the Conn Smythe in just a moment, but I'll ask you a quick follow-up. Then I'll ask you about the Conn Smythe as well. Quick follow-up, Tom. You have the Panthers winning the Cup in 6 games. Wonderful for the people of Sunrise. Is that quantifiable, or is it just your hatred of Canada and you don't want to see the Cup return to the Great White North?
No, I think the Panthers are the better team. And again, as I said, you give me Bobrovsky versus Skinner head-to-head, I will take Bobrovsky. You give me the bottom 6 of the Panthers, I'll take them head-to-head. I also think just the defensive depth that the Panthers have, some big bodies down low, I think they are going to do their job at limiting the offensive pressure from McDavid and Draisaitl, as we saw them do versus Pastrnak and Marchand, as we saw them do versus Panarin and Kreider and Zibanejad. They are great at handling the matchups, the way they play. They check every box you possibly want for a Stanley Cup winning team.
I just wanted to clarify to make sure that there were no Canadian viewers that were upset with you because of an idea that maybe we were trying to deny Canada from having Lord Stanley's Cup return up to the Great White North. Now, as you talked about the individual perspective, you've got a guy winning the Conn Smythe Award. That's the playoff MVP, but now here in the Cup final with a relatively large price. Who is it? What team does he play for? And why might he win the hardware?
That's going to Carter Verhaeghe to win the Conn Smythe. And a lot of people say it could be Bobrovsky, which is absolutely a possibility, especially if he shines through. A A lot of people say Matthew Tkachuk, but when we look at them at head-to-head basis, so far, and this is just so far throughout the playoffs, Tkachuk has 19 points, 5 goals. Verhaeghe has 17 points. He has 9 goals. So 5 goals for Tkachuk, 9 goals for Verhaeghe. When it's all said and done, if they end with the same amount of points, but Verhaeghe has that edge in goals, he's simply going to have the advantage because the goals are game-winning goals. They're the ones that put you ahead. Assists are nice, and it's great to have 20 assists or whatever it might be. But the goals are what step out in front on the score sheet, and that's where it'll be. So I like Verhaeghe number 1, Bobrovsky 2, and then Tkachuk. Tkachuk could put up multi-points every game, and I wouldn't be surprised. But I want to go for that high upside with the goals as the determining factor to win games.
Should be a fantastic Stanley Cup final here. That will begin on Saturday night. But the NBA finals before that, they're going to begin on Thursday night. And we do have some line movement here this morning at the FanDuel Sportsbook, Tom. We take a look now. The Boston Celtics have moved from a 6-point favorite to a 6.5-point favorite and a total of 214 in game number 1. What can we expect here with a few days to go from your perspective on Mavs Celtics?
It comes down to the Porzingis news for the Celtics. What is his official status? Will he play? Will he be limited in playing? All those sorts of things. I wouldn't be surprised to see that line grow, especially as we get closer to the game if Porzingis is officially ruled in. I do think, however, when Porzingis gets ruled in, that does leave an opportunity for it to take the Mavs at +7 or +7.5, whatever it might be. I also think Porzingis getting fully acclimated in the offense, that presents too much variance, and that does leave an opening for the Mavs. So I like the Mavs on the series spread +1.5. I would also have some interest in taking Luka as the series MVP because his numbers are a little bit longer than the Mavs outright line.
About 16 cents of difference there. Vecchio, final 40 seconds of this segment. What is your NBA final series prediction, or at least the best bet for how you see this championship series playing out?
I think it goes all 7 games. I do think the Mavs +1.5 on the series price. I do think the Celtics win, though. So it will go all 7 games. You can find that correlation between 7 games. The Mavs still cover the series spread. You could take Tatum on the series MVP, whatever it might be. There are different ways to approach it, but Mavs cover, Celtics win.
And let's not forget the jack of all trades, Bryce Harper, 2+ total bases today in the game tonight in Philadelphia against the Milwaukee Brewers at -115. Tom Vecchio, he does it all on this Prop Perspective Monday, and we say thank you. More MLB plays coming your way up next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Only 8 games on this Monday Major League Baseball card. We previewed 3 already. Now time to finish out with the final 5. And we start with an American League East divisional duel up in Toronto between the Blue Jays and the Orioles. Virtually a pick'em. Baltimore a slight road money line favorite at -116. Grayson Rodriguez, the second-year pro, gets the start for the O's. Kevin Gausman on the other side for the Blue Jays. The over-under 7.5. What do you expect on this Monday up in the 6?
By the way, Gausman's a pretty solid pitcher here, and on the season, an 81 xFIP minus, which is good. Now, against right-handed batters, he's been absolutely phenomenal. On the season, 132 he's face band, a 130 ISO, and a weighted on-base percentage of 289. But if we flip that over to left-handed batters, whom he's faced 102 of, that's a 204 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of 392. Anticipated as many as 6 left-handed batters in the lineup, which we include switch hitters, and you're looking at some guys with some big-time power numbers against right-handed pitching. Gunnar Henderson, a 338 ISO, 382 weighted on base percentage. Adley Rutschman, 203 ISO power number. Another lefty, Anthony Santander, 270 weighted on base percentage, ISO power number. So you're looking at a pretty good hitting lineup. We'll see if Gausman can hold those guys down. If we flip it over to the other side and take a look at the pitching matchup here from Toronto's perspective at the plate, Grayson Rodriguez, who has been really good against right-handed batters for the past 30 days, but that hasn't always been the case. On the season, 114 batters he's faced, that's a 167 ISO and a 335 weighted on base percentage. But also, you take a look at the last 30 days. How about a K rate for Grayson Rodriguez of 33%? That is tremendous. Couple guys in this lineup, which it feels like on a day-to-day basis for me. Sometimes you take a look and say, okay, Bo Bichette in the middle of the lineup, he's going to be the beneficiary of having Schneider, Jansen, and Guerrero in front of him. But I seem to always getting back to Schneider and Jansen on a day-to-day basis versus lefties and righties have been very good. Schneider over the past 30 days at 250 ISO power number against righties. How about Danny Jansen at 212, but weighted on base percentages of the first 5 guys in the lineup here for Toronto, 364, 355, 451, 389, and 338. I'm still going to give the edge here to the Baltimore Orioles, but it looks like Toronto, if they can bring some of the bats here against Rodriguez, maybe they can do some damage as well.
The Blue Jays 2 games below 500. Toronto always has optimism given its young core, and so far they have not reached that level of expectation. 28-30. It led to some conversation yesterday from GM of the Blue Jays organization, Ross Atkins, saying that he has fielded calls in terms of inquiring about the trade status of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and the shortstop in Bo Bichette, saying it doesn't make any sense to trade those 2 guys. A hard pass. But if you're having those conversations and you were expected to be a playoff team, you never know what the rest of the summer could hold until late July in the MLB trade deadline. 2 teams square off tonight in Arlington, both one win away from getting to 500. That's the Rangers and the Tigers. Texas, 29-30, the reigning World Series champs. Same number for the Detroit Tigers, 29-30. An Aces affair tonight in Arlington. Tarek Skubal on the bump for Detroit. On the other side, it's Nathan Eovaldi for Texas. 4 cents of separations in that money line price, DRS. Who gets the 500 tonight?
Yeah, 2 guys with good ERAs here. Tarek Skubal, 2.01. You take a look at Nathan Eovaldi at 2.84, but even more importantly, get into those analytical numbers. Best pitcher on the card tonight, minimum of 20 innings pitched in 2024. It's Tarek Skubal. You take a look at him at a 63 xFIP minus, but Nathan Eovaldi still under 100 here. He's rated at a 91. So if we're taking a look at what makes sense and what doesn't, it's hard sometimes to gauge Nathan Eovaldi. Not a lot of action over the past 30 days, so it's almost like you're taking that a little bit with a grain of salt. The one thing that we do know, if we flip it over, Texas does have some formidable bats, but having said that, Ben, they haven't been all that good over the past month against left-handed pitchers, which Skubal just might be one of the best, if not the best, in Major League Baseball. Top 2 guys in that lineup, Simeon and Seager, as it should be, at a 256 ISO and a 205 ISO through 41 at-bats and 40 bats respectively. However, after that, not a single player is a plus in ISO power numbers against left-handed pitching, so you should struggle there. So I know it's hard to do this. I like Skubal's the better pitcher, and quite frankly, neither one of these lineups excite me all that much, but I do think Detroit can do a little bit more damage. I'll take Detroit tonight in this game.
Tarek Skubal has been fantastic throughout this season. He is 7-1 with a 2.01 ERA. He is the front runner to win the American League Cy Young Award. He has made 11 starts this year for the Tigers. I said 7-1 record. In 3 of the 4 games, he has not recorded a decision this year. the Tigers have lost those games. So Tarek Skubal on the bump when he is great. The Tigers win. I would keep an eye on that number tonight. The Houston Astros struggling. The Redbirds, like the two teams we mentioned in Texas today, also just a game away, a win away from an even 500 record. It is a minus 178 price, though, in favor of Houston at home with Justin Verlander on the bump. The over-under is 8. We have said the same thing, I feel like, for 3 weeks around the Astros. If they're going to crawl out of this hole and they're 8 games below 500, it's got to start sometime. Here we are 3 weeks later with the same story.
Yeah, they're a heavy favorite tonight, too. And by the way, 2 average pitchers, Verlander on the season, a 116 xFIP minus, which is certainly not something that we're accustomed to over the past 7 to 8 years. He's been absolutely phenomenal. And also, you take a look at the pitcher, Kyle Gibson. On the other side, just your average pitcher as well. But look at Kyle Gibson on the season, 150 batters he's faced, 233 ISO and a 340 weighted on base percentage against lefties. You know how you can play the hits with this team. It's Kyle Tucker, a 541 ISO, 77 at-bats over the past month against right-handed pitching. Yordan Alvarez, 70 at-bats, a 279 ISO power percentage against righties. Even John Singleton, due to bat in the 7th hole, a 182 as a left-handed batter and a 351 weighted on base percentage. Those are the guys that are going to look forward to. But also, Verlander, no longer scared. Say, you can't fade Verlander. He's been too dominant. Not really the case at this point. You got a lot of left-handed batters and a lot of decent players in the lineup with right-handed, going up against right-handed pitcher that have good statistics, Ben, over the past 30 days. And also, there really is something, too, playing on the road on Sunday Night Baseball, then having to fly in to take on another team in their own ballpark. So even though I don't like Houston and that price point is high, I think they probably win this game, but I do think we get some runs here.
DRS on May 17th, Houston had won 8 of their last 9 games. They were 20-25. We started to feel like maybe this was the Astros team. We could expect the rest of the summer turning things around. From that point in 15 games, they have lost 9 of them. Okay, it's a long season, but it's getting late early for the Houston Astros. 8 games below 500 now at 24-32 here at the start of June. 2 more games to break down and a best bet for you on the other side of the break here on this Monday on the early line on SportsGrid. It comes your way up next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Only 8 games today in Major League Baseball on this Monday card. We preview the final 2. We have not broken down for you just yet. Live right here to round out our 3 hours on this Monday on the early line. Cincinnati and Colorado at Coors Field in Denver. The Rockies, a slight home underdog, -104 for the Rocks, -112 other side for the Reds. Total of 10.5. The over has the hefty juice. It's what you would expect in a mile-high matchup.
It is. And also, you take a look at Feltner on the mound here. He cannot get out left-handed batters. So you say to yourself, is there any lefties in that Reds lineup? TJ Friedl, Ellie De La Cruz, Jeimer Candelario, Jake Fraley, Nick Martini, Will Benson. Hey, perfect matchup. The only problem is this team stinks out loud against right-handed pitching, which is a shame here. You would love to take it and load up. By the way, if there are 2 guys in that lineup you would like to take, it's probably going to be Candelario, a 246 ISO power number against right-handed pitching. But also, one of those guys, a lot of speed and unheralded. I love Will Benson. He's caught a lot of tickets for me, and he usually bats in the 9-hole here. Sort of that whole sequencing of analytics where you get that speed to flip over the top of the lineup. How about this? 57 at-bats against right-handed pitching over the past month as a lefty, 292 ISO, 395 weighted on base percentage. Maybe Will Benson's you're looking this game for an RBI.
DRS, I'm pretty sure Ellie De La Cruz hasn't even had a hit this year. At least that's what I've been seeing on social media.
Yes, exactly. That's why you pass by. When you see the name Ellie De La Cruz, and even if they said tonight that Ellie De La Cruz would get the hit off of a tee tonight, I would still take him to strike out.
Yeah, that's how Donnie feels about Ellie De La Cruz so far this year. The Reds, who had a lot of promise last season, not so much right now. 7 games below 500. The Rockies have the second worst record in the National League, 21-37. The Miami Marlins also only 21 wins, but a few more L's. The New York Mets, man, 24-35, now 11 games below 500. They lost their final 2 games of their weekend set against the D-backs. Quickly here, DRS. Arizona down 3-4 entering the 9th inning. They had a 2-run home run from Ketel Marte. It was the 6th time since May 1st the New York Mets had a lead in the 8th inning or later and lost said baseball game. No other team around Major League Baseball has more than 2. I bring that up because the Mets today trying to get a win, if possible, on the road in the nation's capital. And when you're booked as an underdog against the Nationals, maybe it's a sign of the times.
Yeah, by the way, Miguel does have some pretty good statistics, only 64 batters on the season. So right away, that tends to be an under. And then he took up Mackenzie Gore, who's a left-handed pitcher who actually struggles over the past 30 days with left-handed batters. But I don't think you're going to have too many in the lineup today, and probably only Nimmo, it looks like, for the Mets. So this game definitely trending to an under for me, Ben.
Listen, the Nats haven't been terrible. 4 games below 500, 27-31, but third best record in the NL East, even in front of the Mets. Tonight's total in the nation's capital is at 8. Now it's time for a best bet for you on this Monday. So before we say farewell and before we say goodbye, it is time for bye, bye, bye. DRS, no WNBA games tonight. NBA Finals still 3 games away. That's Thursday, game number 1 in Boston. Stanley Cup Final, that begins on Saturday, 5 days away. So it's the diamond, whether it's the Women's College World Series in Oklahoma City, whether it's the NCAA baseball tournament ending out this region around, or MLB. What's the best bet on a Monday?
Best bet on a Monday, we're going to head down to Houston tonight. We're going to go ahead and go up against Kyle Gibson, struggling, as I told you, with left-handed batters. He's going to face Jordan Alvarez tonight with a 279 ISO power number and a 440 weighted on base percentage. I'll take that plus 120 to get an RBI. Some might say, why don't you just go Kyle Tucker? He's been going crazy. Well, I think that's a good option here. It's a little bit less of a price, but also more importantly, Kyle Tucker's going to be on base. Just up to Jordan Alvarez to drive him in. Jordan Alvarez tonight, RBI, absolutely. Let's go.
DRS, I'm looking at some college baseball odds for the 4 Game 7s we have today in the regional round. College baseball totals, unlike what you would normally see in MLB. For instance, it seems as though the FanDuel Sportsbook is having difficulty nailing what we are going to see today in Greenville in the regional final between Evansville and East Carolina. The Pirates are the regional hosts. The total 20 minutes ago was 13.5. It has been locked and taken down twice since that point. Now flash back at 15 and a hook. 15.5 for a baseball game. This is college baseball, and East Carolina scored 19 runs yesterday to force this Game 7. We're staying away from that one. But in the regional final tonight in Chapel Hill, North Carolina LSU, it's all hands on deck. It could be the final game of the season. Give me the under of a total that has not yet been posted, but I would expect around 12.5 or 13 and a hook. He's Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. That does it for a Monday, but we'll see you Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, right here on the Early Line.